In Matthew 26, right after Jesus institutes the very first communion and shares that deeply spiritual moment with his disciples, he tells them that very soon, when the trouble comes, they're all going to desert him. And they all deny it and vigorously protest and say that would never do that. But then on top of that, Jesus says to Peter, the lead disciple, that he's going to deny Jesus 3 times before morning even comes. And Peter also vigorously protests. And in fact, Peter says that he would die before he would ever do something like that. Well, guess what happens? Later that very same night, when the Jewish religious authorities come to arrest Jesus, they all desert him. And Peter, in fact, denies that he even knows Jesus 3 times before morning comes. They all utterly and painfully fail, especially Peter. Have you ever failed like that? Have you ever blown it, made a mess of things, sinned? The truth is, we all know that terrible feeling. Now, one thing that I love about this story and so many others like this in the Bible is the way that the Bible so honestly reports on the lives of people of faith. The Bible doesn't leave out their bad moments or even their ugly moments, and it doesn't try to whitewash them. It doesn't try to paint some kind of fake, artificial, perfect picture of faith. And that is so important for us, because what the Bible does is it clearly shows us that people of faith, even the great ones in the Bible, weren't perfect. And what a relief it is for us to know that God doesn't expect perfection from us because he knows that we aren't perfect. Now, it's also important to note that if you follow the story, what you find out is that Jesus doesn't reject the disciples and he doesn't reject Peter because of their failure. What he does instead is he forgives them. And that's exactly why Jesus came, because we're imperfect people. We're sinners in need of grace. So God sent his son Jesus, and Jesus came and laid down his life for us so that we could have grace. Now, even further along in the story, what we find is that Jesus takes a special time to restore Peter. He gives Peter an opportunity to say that he loves Jesus 3 times to kind of match the 3 times that Peter had denied Jesus. And once Peter does that, Jesus sort of says to him, all right, well, let's get back to work. And Peter is restored. And it's important for us to see that the way that Jesus deals with the disciples and Peter here is the way that Jesus deals with us. And that is fantastic news. So there are no perfect people, not even the amazing people of the Bible. We all sin. We all fall short of God's best. But the good news is that even though we aren't perfect people, we have a perfect God who forgives and restores us. And Peter and the other disciples are just wonderful examples of this incredible truth. And the only way that we know this truth is that the Bible honestly reports on their lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And thank God that it does. So the truth about us is we're not perfect. But what we are is by faith we are forgiven.